ktymgospel.net and KTYM Media TV. We're doing a live presentation today, public service, for one of our organizations here in Southern California. It's called Straight Talk. And we've got with us today Miss Phyllis McNeal rather. She's going to be sharing some of the things that are going on with her organization and how she is helping to overcome adversity. And Phyllis, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me. Okay,
good. Now let's see if we can get some information on your organization and what you're doing and how you want to get the word out. What do you do? How do you get started?
Well, I birthed the program in 1990, 29 years ago.
Okay.
And what Straight Talk is for social justice. We cater to youth and adults, because if you don't get your problems fixed as an adult, as a youth, it goes right into adult life.
Okay.
And so some of the people in my program, participants, they've been incarcerated. Their family was incarcerated. Some of them never been incarcerated. They never had any contact with the law, but everyone has a story to tell. We do prevention, intervention, and deterrent, and we also educate the community about the criminal justice system.
Okay.
We do mentoring. I mentor youth and adults, and sometimes I have to mentor the whole family.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, what gave you the inclination to start a business like this?
Well, you know what? When I was about 16, I was a runaway. I come from a very dysfunctional family. I had all the ingredients in my life to become a product of my environment. I was desperate. I didn't want to be a product of my environment. My mother was a single mother with 3 kids. I'm the middle child. She married a man with 4 kids. We became a Brady Bunch family overnight.
Yeah.
He had 4, she had 3, and my mother was subject to violence all the time. He used to beat her all the time.
Oh, my goodness.
She made poor choices in her life. She had I didn't have no positive role models. It was drugs in my house. Violence was in my house. I was a child out of control. I was worse than 15 baby kids in one classroom. I had issues, so my mother had a hard time controlling me. I had no structure at all.
Wow. So how did you turn all that around?
Well, you know what? I was a runaway. I started running away about the age of 12, and I got involved in alcohol. And then about the age of 13, I got kicked out of so many schools, and I was in special ed classes from kindergarten all the way up until first grade, all the way up until 6th grade. But I got introduced to a therapist at the age of 13, and she started working with me one-on-one. She was trying to get my mother involved in counseling, but my mother refused to. She showed up to twice. But I was desperate not to be a product of my environment, and she brought out the best of me. She gave me some self-worth. She taught me how to deal with my anger. But see, I still didn't change overnight because I was put back in the family. I kept running away. I was placed in foster homes in Los Angeles area, and there was no really good foster home for when my social worker used to place me in these foster homes, but I knew I would get into a good home eventually, and I did. I ran away for the last time when I entered 10th grade. I was about 14 years old, and my social worker left me on the street for 28 long days. And then, 28 days. She left me on the streets. I have nowhere to go, but I went to school every day. I was going to Morningside High School, and I turned myself into Inglewood Police Department. I said, I'm tired of staying on the street. You have to put me up somewhere. And my social worker said, I'm not going to give you another placement, no more foster homes. Only place I had to go was go to the juvenile hall, East Lake Juvenile Hall, and go through the court procedures to get the custody taken away from my mother. So that's what I did, and I ended up in the Jacqueline Girls Home January 17, 1974, and then my life started going uphill because I was in a nurturing home, loving, and this lady had her hands was full dealing with me because I still had issues. I came with a lot of baggage, but she was willing to help me, and I was willing to learn and get the help I needed. But she had a lot of work with me, I can say that.
And how long did it take to make this transition in your life?
Well, I graduated from Los Angeles High School with honors, but before that, I just went into the girls' home, and I think 2 or 3 months after I was in the girls' home, I got kicked out of the girls' home. I got kicked out of Los Angeles High School for throwing a pencil at a substitute teacher, and then refused to go down to the office, so they put me in Fairfax continuation. And then my mom, Maxine McGinnis, said, if I can get Phyllis together over the summer and the rest of the semester, would you take her back in the fall? They said, sure, Mrs. McGinnis, we'll take her back. But I had a long, like they said, criminal record. I had a long school record being behavior problems. But she got me together, and I went back, settled myself down, and graduated with honors from high school in 1976. And still being a part of the system, foster care, and then I was placed on probation. My next step would have been maybe youth authority or prison, because that's where I was going. I was so out of control. But she changed my life by the grace of God. I said, she's working for the Lord. I just knew she was working for the Lord to get me together in that short of time, ready, for the college and whatnot. Yes. So I didn't want no other kid to go through what I went through, because I didn't have a childhood. So I wanted to do something. At the age of 16, I wrote down my goals. My ambitions was to become a probation officer or work in the field of social services. Well, I became a parole agent.
Okay.
And I worked in the field of social services. So what I wrote down at 16 years old with my hard work and dedication, I became what I wrote down on that paper. Only thing different when I became a parole officer.
Okay.
And that's how, and I started Straight Talk program as soon as I got settled in my career, got off probation as a parole agent, and I said I wanted to get back in the community. This is my way of saying thank you, because somebody saved my life, and I am just so gun-ho about getting out there, helping people.
Yeah.
Because if somebody had kicked me to the curb, I wouldn't be here today. I'd probably be in jail, prison, or dead, because I was heading in that direction. We have so many kids in our community have a story like me, but do they have anybody that's genuine, that's really going to help them?
Right.
That's what we're short of in our today's society. Genuine people, hold them accountable.
Okay. Okay, now tell us exactly what is Straight Talk and how you got started.
Well, Straight Talk is a program where it's formerly incarcerated people that come out and tell their story. Some of them are formerly incarcerated. Some of the participants that tell their testimony, they have no contact with law. They just want to give back into the community. They want to come out and tell. Everybody have a testimony to tell to help out people in the community that's struggling, that are having some type of struggle. Or I have honor students, never been in trouble. They come out, they be an example to the kids in school that are getting in trouble, and they tell them, hey, you don't have to get in trouble. You don't have to be liked by anybody. Love yourself, like yourself. So I have other people working together. We have one common goal in common, though. Get out there and help each other out regarding the gifts that we've been blessed with, by God.
Yeah. How do you handle a kid or a person that really just doesn't seem to be incorrigible?
Well, I try to look at the person in their environment, get to the core of the problem. What is causing this person to get in trouble a lot? Like you have to get to the core of the problem. Is it the family? It's a kid on drugs? Or is he suffering from mental illness? Get this person treatment versus throwing away the key and locking them up. Because putting people up in juvenile hall or incarcerating them in prison for X amount of years, if you don't address the problem, the reason why they're going in and out that revolving door, they're going to get out and they might become more sophisticated once they behind closed doors.
Oh, yes.
So we got to get to the core of the problem.
Right. I think that's one of the key issues, is not finding out what's the source of why they are acting the way they're acting. And once we get to that problem, I think we'll have a better society to live in. You brought someone with you today that is a example of the type of things you're doing. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Stephanie Nieves. She's been on my program since 1990. I'll let her tell her story. She's been committed. Oh, she's an awesome person. I have some awesome people on Straight Talk program, and she's one of them.
Tell us about what's going on in your life there, Stephanie.
Well, first I'd like to thank Phyllis for inviting me, and thank you for having us here.
Okay.
My name is Stephanie Nieves, and unlike Phyllis, I had a childhood. My parents gave me a childhood. I never knew we were poor. I thought, my mother used to tell me, what you think, I got a money tree back there in the backyard? I thought she had a money tree, but I did not have a money tree, but I did have a child's life.
Okay.
But I grew up and decided to go south. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Many
of us do.
Yes. Even through graduating school and having a son while I was in the 12th grade, and him walking across the stage with me carrying him
Okay.
You know, I made sure that I got my high school diploma, and everybody said I wouldn't because I had gotten pregnant in high school.
Okay.
I did that with my son. And from there, like I said, kind of went south. I ended up going to federal prison. And in federal prison, when you're being sentenced, you're not sentenced in years like the state. So when the judge told me that I was going to prison for 288 months, I had no idea how much time I was getting ready to do in prison.
Wow.
And I looked at my public pretender, and
That's life.
he said, "That's 24 years." I said, "I'm 24 years old." He said, "That's a year for every day of your life." I said, "Wow, okay." And it really didn't hit me at that time. But when I was taken back to my cell, that's when it dawned on me that I just left a 9-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter at home with my parents that I would not see until they were adults. Unfortunately, at the age of 14, my daughter passed of cancer while I was incarcerated. And my then husband, his family carried the gene of schizophrenia, and that triggered the schizophrenia that lay dormant in my son's body. So it was like I really lost 2 children at once, all the while from the outside looking in, because I wasn't there, you know. But I made the best of a bad situation.
Okay.
Since I knew I was going to be away for a long time, the first thing I did was went to the law library and study where I was going to be for so long, because this is my home now. This is my address. This is where I receive my mail.
Yeah.
So this is where I live.
Right.
So I wanted to learn about the system. At that time, we had professors that came into the prisons, and we were able to go to school. And I wanted to do something like Phyllis and help children that are going astray. And then I found out there were programs, Youth at Risk, you know. And after going to school in FCI Pleasanton, which they renamed FCI Dublin, I received my AA degree in child psychology.
Okay.
And I wrote the warden and asked the warden if we could start a Scared Straight program.
Okay.
And he met with me and a couple of other long-termers and thought it was a great idea. And so this was back in the late 80s. So in the late 80s, I was the original Scared Straight program at FCI Dublin. They have a Scared Straight program that comes on television now that I know nothing about. But I started the original Scared Straight program in FCI Dublin.
Okay.
And after I got out, I left in December 1983. I came home in 1999 to the federal halfway house. I was deemed incorrigible, and the halfway house told me the day I arrived that you have 30 days to find a job or you're going back to prison.
Wow.
And within that first week, I found a job. But while I was in the halfway house, I was watching the news, and I seen a panel of ex-convicts with the founder, Phyllis McNeal, from Straight Talk. And they were talking to teenagers about life, about their struggles, and about how they wanted to reach out and help.
Okay.
The next day, I called that radio station, and I found Phyllis McNeal. And I told her, I said, I watched the news channel last night. I said, I see that you have a panel of ex-convicts, but they're all from the state. I said, I'm from the feds. I said, but I have a degree in child psychology. This is what I want to do. I started the Scared Straight program in federal prison. Please take me into your program. And she opened her arms and hugged me and said, thank you for finding me. And I have been with her since 1999, and this is now 2019. We're still trudging.
Yeah.
You know, I'm 15 years sober. Have a great job, and I'm of service. Whenever Phyllis says we have to go to Compton, we have to go to Watts, we have to go to Riverside, we have to go to LA, What time and where is
Yeah.
all I ask. What time and where?
Yeah.
You suit up, you show up, and you give your testimony, and at the end of it, we have a Q&A.
Right.
And I love how, not to take away from my colleagues, but I love how the line is usually the longest in front of me,
Okay.
you know. And I know that I have reached some, know that,
Mhm.
because the story is so powerful that, and when these children come up for the Q&A, you can look in their eyes and see that they see hope
Okay.
because they just heard you,
Right.
and now they're standing in front of you, and you're no longer a product of your environment. You
Right.
are now a successful
Yeah.
citizen
Yeah.
that can vote,
Right.
you know.
Okay.
I don't have to look over my shoulder when I'm driving down the street.
Yeah.
If a police car is next to me, I don't have a problem with
Right.
saying thank you for your service,
Mm-hmm. Right.
because that's what they're here for,
Amen.
you know. And that's what I do.
Mm-hmm. Let's back up a moment. What was the offense that got you all those months in prison?
Bank robbery, forgery, and fraud.
Okay. Okay.
And since one of them was not federal, I was sentenced to federal and state time. And so in the middle of my federal sentence, the state came to pick me up and took me to California Institution for Women, which is better known as CIW, and put me on the lifers unit, because the lifers at CIW, at 4 o'clock, the horn blows, and that's count time. But the lifers cannot come back out on the yard after 4 o'clock. Everybody else can. I feel like they never told me the reason why they put me in that unit, but I feel like they put me in that unit because I was actually a federal inmate and they didn't want to lose me. So they knew at 4 o'clock I was being locked down with the rest of the people.
Now,
you
how
know.
old were you at that time?
I went to prison when I was 24 years old, and I got a 24-year sentence because that's what 288 months turned out to be.
Okay. Now, you're remarkable. How many years did you spend in prison?
I was supposed to spend 18 years out of the 24 because state inmates, they can get half time, 60% or 80%. Federal inmates, we got 54 days off a year.
A year. Mhm.
And I've been told now that it's 47 days.
So you got out.
Yeah, and the reason, in the beginning, when you're sentenced to a lengthy time like that for the feds, they give you an appellate lawyer. Appeals take a very long time, very long time. So many years later, I got the appeal back that was denied. And then my father hired an appellate lawyer. And like I said, appeals take a long time, 4, 5, 8,
Yeah.
10
Right,
years.
Right.
And so even with the appellate lawyer that my father had hired, he lost as well. Well, I've been in the law library for so long, I did my own appeal
Okay.
and won.
Wow.
But I only had 2 years left doing my sentence.
So.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I was waiting for all those other appeals to see what was going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, because you can't have an appeal on an appeal with an appeal.
Right.
You know, you can only do one at a time.
Okay.
And I won. And so instead of doing that 18 years, I did 16.
Okay. All right.
And it may not seem like a big accomplishment to a lot of people, but it's a big accomplishment to me
Sure.
because I did it.
Exactly.
I did it, and I came home 2 years sooner than I was supposed to,
Okay.
you know.
Okay.
And I thank God that I did, because no one knew what was wrong with my son. My son was going from Dorsey High School to the NFL. Our family has never had to deal with any type of mental illness.
Right.
They didn't know what was wrong with my son.
Okay.
I knew what was wrong with him,
Wow.
you know. So I came home to visit my daughter in the cemetery and to take my son to a facility to find out exactly what was going on. And he was bipolar, paranoid, schizophrenic.
Oh my.
So that's what I walked into when I came home.
Yeah. All right. Now, ladies, let's see if we can come up with some means to correct our problem that we have today. We know there are so many kids in our streets that have no direction, no guidance. Phyllis, I'm sure you come across them every day.
Yes.
What is the message that we can get to them, how they can get changes in their lives, how they can find the right solution What is the answer?
Well, you know what? With me, I had to break the family curse. You know, because sometimes a generational curse, because you know you're part of that environment, you know, and then that family, and that's all you have. But number one, you got to be determined. If you're really determined in your heart, someone's out there going to help you, and then you probably want to get into somebody to mentor you. You know, get into some therapy. You might need some ongoing therapy. You know, to deal with your core problem. Why are you getting yourself in trouble? If you need anger management, you might have a drug problem. You might need to go to AA meetings or a drug treatment program. With myself, I was abusing alcohol at the age of 12 years old. I mean, I started off with that little cheap wine, and I started drinking that hardcore liquor. So it was just a matter of time before I slipped into some drugs. But we got to find resources out there for our youth. Right now, they got this social media. They're socializing with social media, and that's no help right now, because it's messing with your brain. You got to change your mindset. You know, and sometimes with me divorcing my family, you think I wanted to divorce my family, but I had to get out of there, because my family, I'm 60 years old right now, my family is still on that same milk carton. Some are dead now, some are in and out of the prison system, and they just haven't even made a move off that milk carton. So we got to get some resources into these programs. We got to get some funds in these programs to have them exist in our community. They got some good programs out here, like Straight Talk. I've been footing this bill for 29 years out of my own money. I completed all my savings, all my retirement, because I know God's going to answer my prayer. Somebody's out there going to be writing me some big checks so I can continue the doors open. I got people in my program, been to school, been to college, PhD, got the AA, you name it, you know. So I got a mixture of both. Both worlds.
I'd like to chime in on that, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Like Phyllis said, she's depleted her retirement, and I have seen it. You know, I've been with her since '99. I have seen what she has done. You know, and she has not had help. You know, we don't get a stipend. We don't get anything for what we do. We do what we do because we want to be out there in the community and let the kids know, if you can't identify with them people that you're talking to, or the people that's trying to help you, you can identify with us, because we've been there, done that. You know, and we're going to show you the right way. We're not just going to just tell you, we're going to show you the right way. And then I also noticed that when I talk to families, because sometimes we have families, you know, we have a great family that's been involved with us for many years now. I remember the mom with the 2 sons when they first came. And this is a Hispanic family. And this was so many years ago. And now these boys they were 18 and 19 then. So they have to be in their 30, 31 now or something like that.
Yeah, one is about 30-something years old.
It's been a long time, and they're doing great. They've stayed with the program. They're doing great. They're on our panel, you know. But what I find that with the black and brown community, they don't, when I mention the word therapy, I said, you know what? Sometimes you need to sit down with somebody that's outside of whoever you're around, family, best friend, anybody. You need to sit down with a therapist and let everything, release it, get rid of it. You'll find that black and brown families, it's just like mine, that say, I'm not going to sit on no couch and tell no stranger my business. True. I have to talk to somebody I know. You don't want those people you know to know your business, is what you told me. That's why you're talking to somebody that doesn't know anything about you, that has a degree in what they're doing, and that's going to really hear you. You know, I hear you. You know, they're going to really hear you. And this is not something you do just once. I do it to this day. You know, and I've been home since 1999. You know, and I see my therapist every Friday like clockwork. I lost a daughter while I was incarcerated. I lost my father, 2 sisters. My son is now in an institution, thank God. And so, I need a therapist, you know, for me to stay on even keel, so I can go out there and do the work in the community with Phyllis and give back to the youth.
Yeah.
I need somebody to talk to.
Right. Now, that might you hit on a subject that might be a key. These young people have nowhere to turn to, and they turn to the social medias and to the peer pressures that in our world. So how do we divert that attention away from social media and getting into programs like yours, Phyllis?
Well, first of all, they have to stay away from the social media. Look in the community for a mentorship program that has a good track record. I have a mentorship program on to Straight Talk. Mm-hmm. I mentor adults, I mentor youth. Sometimes I have to mentor the whole family. You know, you had to get somebody positive role model. Okay. One of my clients told me, and from the Youth Authority, I used to work for Youth Authority, and I had him in adult parole. He said, if you hang around people tell you what you want to hear all the time, you better run from them. Hang around with people that you don't, what they tell you, you might not want to hear, because those are people are telling you the right things to do. People that tell you what you want to hear, they're just putting a little bandage over your whole problem, making you even worse. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Now, give us some information on how people can contact you and how they can become a part of your organization and how they can donate to your organization.
If you want to donate, I'm always looking for some money. If one person give $1, everybody in California give $1, boy, Straight Talk would be sitting pretty. But my website is www.S for straight, T for talk, P for program, I for ice, N for Nancy, C for Charles, O for ox, R for Robert, G for God. That is my website. Now my phone number is 951-272-5747. And if you forget, just go on Google me, Straight Talk in Norco, come up in Corona. You'll get everything about Straight Talk as far as my email, my website, and my phone number. Once again, the phone number is 951-272-5747. Go to my website. I have a donate button. Please donate, because we definitely need your funds. Okay. We've been doing this for 29 years, and I still want to keep the doors open.
All right.
I'm a community-raised kid. This is a community program.
Okay. And you're located in Corona?
Yeah, we don't have an office in the community. I have a home base, but we go all over. We're a mobile program, program on wheels.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I remember when we went to... we've been to Recreation Park in Compton.
Yeah, we go to high schools.
Yeah. We go where
we go to churches. If the church need us, we do church programs. Go out there for the kids and tell our testimony, because we got a testimony to tell. We come from both worlds. Some people have been incarcerated and some people haven't.
Right.
Even the founder's been incarcerated. Okay. And hey, I'm a living example of what if somebody can get in there and help me. And we just need some people just like somebody helped me. My therapist, Sonia C. Lane.
Okay.
She's the LCSW. She helped me.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate you ladies coming by today to enlighten us on some of the things that are going on, and I'm sure that many of our viewers will watch this program and get involved in what you're doing, because Straight Talk is a program that will enable us to reach our youth, or anybody for that matter, who's having problems dealing with life. And life, as we know today, is not an easy task. Thank these ladies for coming by today. And if you have any inclination to help them, once again, Phyllis, your address and phone number?
My website is www.S for straight, T for talk, P for program, I for ice, N for Nancy, C for Charles, O for ox, R for Robert, G for God, and my phone number 951-272-5747.
Okay. We thank you very much, and thank you for listening. This has been KTYM Public Service Program, and we hope that you will enjoy and respond to this program today. I'm Thomas Blackwell. That's the way it is. May God bless you and keep you is our prayer.